all roads lead to the Annika Pro-Am. Trust me, all roads, all cameras, all people will be tuned in for the Annika Pro-Am. Why? To see the GOAT, Caitlin Clark, take over the show.
Caitlin Clark just stunned the sports world again. This time, not with a basketball, but with a golf club, after the LPGA invited her to a major event. Instead of celebrating, the WNBA world erupted in drama, with A'ja Wilson once more proving that her toughest competition might just be her own ego.
Caitlin Clark will compete in the Annika Pro-Am. This is gonna be fire. Y'all know she set the whole golf world on fire last year, had everybody tuned in. The ratings jumped up crazy.
Social media erupted after the LPGA outmarketed the WNBA using the WNBA's own biggest star, Caitlin Clark. By inviting her to their Pro-Am, the LPGA pulled off a brilliant, controversy-free crossover that celebrated women's sports the way it should be. But instead of joining the fun, the WNBA imploded in jealousy and insecurity, revealing just how badly it still misunderstands Clark's value. While Caitlin Clark lit up the LPGA Pro-Am with her charm, swing, and superstar presence, the WNBA pouted from the sidelines. Crowds swarmed every hole, media outlets went live, and even casual fans tuned in, proof of the unstoppable Caitlin Clark effect. It's not hype or coincidence, it's real, measurable star power that any league would kill for, except, apparently, the WNBA.
Quite amazing for a Wednesday. I mean, there's so many media here from all different sort of media aspects, local news, lots of reporters around that you normally wouldn't see on a Wednesday out here at an LPGA event. All the spectators are all waiting to get their final glimpse of Caitlin, hopefully a final autograph.
Here's where it gets downright hilarious. Actual golf fans were chanting Caitlin Clark's name like she'd just won the Masters. The LPGA didn't just invite her, they celebrated her, pairing her with world number 1 Nelly Korda and turning the event into a marketing clinic. Within hours, their photos went viral, golf gained thousands of new followers, and major outlets from ESPN to People were buzzing. While the LPGA basked in gold-plated success, the WNBA's reaction could have frozen a fairway.
Next on the team, Caitlin Clark.
While the LPGA was busy thanking Caitlin Clark for bringing new life to their sport, A'ja Wilson was busy stewing. She dropped another cryptic post about media favorites getting everything handed to them, and everyone knew exactly who she meant. At this point, it's practically a tradition. Caitlin does something big, and A'ja treats it like a personal offense.
I wanted to come say hi and introduce myself. I play out here on tour. I'm Maria. Thank you for being out here. It's very cool what you're doing for sports, kicking off on and off the field. But now,
and here's the Caitlin Clark effect, Morgan, with Maria Fossey and other players out here following.
That's good. A lot of fun. Made it easy. Annika, could I steal you for a second? I don't think I'll have like bigger. I can't say bad stuff on TV, but badasses once together. We're doing a fun like quickie on that side. There we go. Yeah. I'm next. Yes. 1, 2, 3.
The LPGA saw Caitlin Clark not as competition, but as a once-in-a-generation opportunity. And by celebrating her, they brought millions of new eyes to women's golf. Meanwhile, the WNBA's jealousy runs so deep that players treat her like a threat, and the league itself stays awkwardly silent. As the LPGA flooded social media with Caitlin highlights, the WNBA offered nothing but crickets, and fans noticed every second of it.
Higher television ratings, higher attendance figures. Ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't come courtesy of a league. It comes courtesy of the players that play in the league. And in her case, she was the most popular, which means she could have helped your bottom line, which means you should have seen that from day one and maximized it. But you didn't do it.
Within hours, fans flooded WNBA comment sections asking why the LPGA could celebrate Caitlin Clark when her own league wouldn't, and the criticism was brutal but fair. As the WNBA stayed silent, A'ja Wilson filled the void with cryptic posts and passive-aggressive likes, turning Caitlin's success into another round of self-pity. The irony? While A'ja played victim online, Caitlin was out there expanding the fan base and uplifting women's sports. The LPGA recognized that instantly, but the WNBA still seems determined to ignore it.
Everybody talks about like the effect that we have on them, but also they have the same effect on us. And I think that's what's really cool about it is to see how much joy it really brings them and it brings their families. And that one game where they spend 2 hours of their whole entire year has such an impact on their entire childhood. And I think that's really cool to think about. And
here's the part that really stings. The LPGA wasn't even planning to televise the event. But after fans begged to see Caitlin Clark play, they changed course, and ratings skyrocketed. Women's golf enjoyed one of its best weekends of the year simply because they embraced her star power. Meanwhile, the WNBA keeps acting like Caitlin's a problem instead of a gift, downplaying her records and whining about overexposure whenever she succeeds. The LPGA just gave them a free masterclass in leadership. Celebrate your stars, don't compete with them. And yet A'ja Wilson still turned the moment into another episode of What About Me?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's been a lot of pressure. I mean, a lot of people looking at her. And, you know, when you set the bar high and continue to move that bar, I mean, people are always going to try and push you down and take you down in different ways and getting criticized. But she's just handled it so well, you know, with such poise and such class and just keep moving, setting records and doing things that have not been done before. And I mean, that's just, to me, is obviously very inspiring, but it motivates a lot of women to be able to even reach their full potential. And, you know, she's so young too, and who knows what her future will be, but she's just starting out with a bang, and I'm sure she's going to continue. So we're excited to have her here. And
the difference is simple. Caitlin Clark doesn't play the drama game. She doesn't bite back, throw shade, or feed jealousy. She just keeps winning with quiet confidence and unstoppable professionalism. That's why the media adores her, why brands line up to work with her, and why the LPGA treated her like Tiger Woods' little sister while fans fell in love all over again. Every photo, every highlight, every smile turned into a masterclass in charisma. Meanwhile, the WNBA's silence only made their insecurity louder, as golf, of all sports, proved how easy it is to celebrate women's greatness without ego. The LPGA understood Caitlin wasn't stealing attention, she was expanding it. And maybe that's the real question now. How long can the WNBA keep ignoring the very player who's redefining what women's sports could be?
A'ja Wilson's just a big bully. Look at this. Throws Lexi Hall on the ground. Everything she does is illegal. Look at this one. A moving screen and then pushes Lexi Hall. You think they ever call a foul on A'ja Wilson?
The Las Vegas Aces tried to bully the Indiana Fever with elbows, flops, and cheap shots. But the Fever answered with speed, grit, and vengeance, especially when Kelsey Mitchell buried shot after shot to silence the arena. In the end, Vegas's intimidation backfired, and Indiana turned their arrogance into humiliation.
This was supposed to be a night all about A'ja Wilson's legacy. She made history before the ball even tipped, but the game that followed reminded the Aces how tough this playoff run will be.
The Indiana Fever have pulled off the upset, the 6th seed, beating Vegas 89-73 to take game 1.
What began as A'ja Wilson's night of celebration quickly turned into a humbling reminder that the Aces' supposed coronation was anything but easy once the game began.
And A'ja Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces lose Game 1 on their home court to the Indiana Fever, 89-73. The Indiana Fever were in control of this game from start to finish. There was a small little patch there in the third quarter. We started saying, are the Aces gonna come back? But Kelsey Mitchell and Odyssey Sims said, no, they're not going to come back. Not at all.
The Aces entered as overwhelming favorites, backed by media hype and Becky Hammond's confident reminders that Indiana hadn't yet faced the real Aces. But with 6 players out and the odds stacked against them, the Fever turned what was supposed to be Vegas's statement game into a test of arrogance.
You actually just referenced it twice. It is Indiana. Dropped 2 of the 3 games to them this year, but you haven't seen them since late July. What excites you about that matchup?
That they haven't seen the real Aces yet. They caught us when we were a bit in turmoil. Not only that, they whooped us one of those stretches. So, you know what? We'll buckle in, hone in where we can, and take care of business.
While Vegas soaked up the pregame spotlight, the overlooked Fever played with the fearless freedom of a team no one expected to win, and it showed the moment the game began.
But on the court, the Fever crashed the party. Kelsey Mitchell dropped a playoff career-high 34 points to spoil the night with an 89-73 win.
In the second half, I just felt like our physicality and our pursuit was not there. Like, we died on screens. You have to have second and third efforts. Even if you know you might be beat, you still have to try hard to get back into the play, and I don't think we tried hard in that category.
Indiana came out fast and fearless, flipping the script as Vegas's swagger turned to panic under the Fever's relentless pace. By the end of the night, the supposed underdogs had rattled the champs, rewriting the series math and stealing both momentum and belief.
You better not blank on the mission, bitch. You might get ranking. Shot back. Let it go. Right. Go. With it. Flash for somebody. You don't want to fight no hitter? No. I'ma shoot you in the face.
The moment Indiana stood firm, the Aces abandoned their game plan for shoves and desperation, turning a showcase of dominance into a scramble for shortcuts.
Lexi Hall was getting pushed all game. Look at that. Like, elbowed, pushed, but guess who fell? That's an illegal screen. She leans into Lexi Hall, pushes her. Look at this. Pushes Lexi Hall down. Like, I can't take this crap. I'm sick of watching it over and over. That's a moving screen. And then pushes her again. Look at that. You can't do that. They didn't call any. This is the only one they called a foul. She straight pushed Kelsey Mitchell into A'ja Wilson.
A'ja Wilson tried to assert dominance not with skill, but with elbows, flops, and cheap shoves that had little to do with basketball. Her antics made it clear she wasn't leading the game. She was just trying to regain control of one slipping away.
And then this pathetic foul to start the game off with. But ball never lies. I love when karma happens. Yeah, miss your free throw. And then here we go. Check this out. Foul. Look at this one. She swings her elbows on Powers. And Powers just holding her ground. But it's a foul. Let's go through this. This is A'ja Wilson. I'm so big and bad. No, you didn't get touched. It wasn't that cool. You made a layup.
Following Wilson's lead, the Aces turned the game into a bruising brawl disguised as physical play. But the tougher they hit, the sharper and more unshakable the Fever became.
But then Aaliyah Boston swings her elbows around and makes a shot, but no, she can't do it. She's a Fever. An Indiana Fever. She said, that's a flop. That's what Caitlin said. Here we go. A'ja Wilson. Look at her trying to flop to get a call. Nobody touch you. And this is the biggest bullcrap of the game. So Kelsey Mitchell goes in for a layup. A'ja Wilson shows them their lip, so they review it. You ever see an Indiana Fever player get a review when they're called for a foul and they zoom in with a microscope and call it technical? They called it technical on Kelsey Mitchell.
Every cheap shot from Vegas only fueled Indiana's fire, as Mitchell, Sims, Howard, and Turner answered each foul with sharper focus, tighter defense, and unshakable composure.
Asia Wilson, look at that foul they called for her. Yeah, saved her. That's a bull crap. I love Aaliyah Boston. Great job today playing defense. Look at that. Another foul. Bailed out by the refs. I get pissed off. This is the worst one. They call this a jump ball. How is that a jump ball? Nobody even had possession. Aaliyah Boston, that's anything that's over the back. Not a jump ball.
The Aces, led by their newly crowned MVP, were supposed to embody composure, but every shove and flop exposed how rattled they really were. As Vegas turned the game into a wrestling match, Indiana met the chaos head-on, fueled by pride and the absence of 6 teammates. What was meant to intimidate them instead ignited a fire that burned hotter with every Vegas misstep.
Money Mitch, put him in a ditch! Who on the Las Vegas Aces is going to try to stop Kelsey Mitchell? Because from what I just saw, they had no answer for her. Kirsten Bell lined right up, smacked. Jackie Young stepped right up, torched. Chelsea Gray torched. Jewel Lloyd torched. Nobody could hang with Kelsey Mitchell as she goes off.
Kelsey Mitchell answered Vegas's physical chaos with pure precision, torching them for 34 points and slicing through every shove and jawing attempt. For all the Aces' trophies and swagger, none of their stars could match the calm, relentless brilliance she brought where it mattered most. The scoreboard.
That time, keeping the pivot foot alive and going strong side for Wilson.
Mitchell this time finds a lane to the basket. Inside to Turner. Nice look from Mitchell, which follows 5 Eastern time on ESPN. Mitchell. Lot of arc on that and a couple of bounces.
Odyssey Sims anchored Indiana with fearless drives, relentless defense, and veteran poise, guiding her team through Vegas's chaos without ever stooping to it.
Good anticipation there by Brianna Turner. She's been on a couple WNBA all defensive teams, and she has really been key for them on that end of the floor in these playoffs.
Sims, yet again.
That's a tough matchup.
Which follows 5 Eastern time on ESPN. Mitchell. Lot of arc on that and a couple in the regular season in Asia. In the entire league. And Sims, they gave her just that space and she took it.
Natasha Howard and Brianna Turner anchored the paint with disciplined physical defense that made life miserable for Vegas, while Lexi Hull quietly delivered the night's biggest impact by locking down Jackie Young and posting a plus 24, plus minus. It wasn't luck or flash. It was toughness, focus, and execution that exposed every Aces shortcut.
Tipped by Sims, so 9 seconds to shoot.
Hull's done a nice job on Jackie Young early in this game. Jackie likes to go north to south. She's made her play east to west, has not given her an angle to the bucket or to the rim.
And that was one of the things that was talked about to make Jackie move laterally. She's so dangerous. You gotta hurry. Chelsea gets it inside to Young. Rebound by Howard.
The Fever didn't just withstand Vegas's attempts to rattle them, they humiliated the Aces on their own floor by staying poised and relentless. On the very night Asia Wilson received her MVP trophy, Aaliyah Boston owned the paint, turning Wilson's spotlight into a showcase of frustration and defensive dominance.
They don't want to talk about it. Yeah, her missing layup after layup after layup. They want to talk about Caitlin Clark missing a three-pointer from half court while she got people falling into her legs. But nobody wants to talk about Asia Wilson looking like Angel Reese. missing point-blank layups all game long. In a playoff game, 6 for 22. So
A'ja Wilson, crowned MVP just hours earlier, was held to a rough 6 for 22 night as Boston, Turner, and Howard smothered her inside. Their relentless interior defense clogged every lane, cut off her comfort zones, and turned Vegas's smooth offense into a grinding struggle.
Lexi Hall had that great steal to seal the win against Atlanta. Great start for Leah Boston.
Definitely the best slasher.
Boston and Wilson, two former South Carolina players. A'ja can't find the bottom of the net.
5'11". Odyssey sends in Kelsey Mitchell 5'8".
Boston up under it and
Really having her battle.
A'ja.
The contrast was striking. Boston stayed composed and disciplined while Wilson unraveled with flops, complaints, and forced shots. By night's end, the newly crowned MVP had been outclassed by a second-year center whose poise and preparation exposed the complacency of a champion that had simply assumed it would win.
Regardless of people think we aren't going to win, people think we're not going to come back, like the game's never over until that final buzzer. So for us, just continuing to believe, continuing to trust in the process. But yeah, that game was really exciting, and I think that just showed us that we really are capable of whatever we want.
In the locker room, Lexi Hull summed up the Fever's defiant energy with 5 words: "We're capable of whatever we want." With the Game 1 win flipping home court and history on their side, Indiana now holds the blueprint to break Vegas again and turn this semifinal into a full-blown reckoning.
We've got to keep the main thing, and that is us playing to a standard of basketball that we want to have as an Indiana Fever organization and franchise. We've got to keep our layers. The outside, the people in our building, and the people in our locker room. And the thing I'm just so proud of with this group is it doesn't matter who's on the floor. It doesn't matter who's on our roster. They give each other the freedom to be themselves. They empower one another to be themselves and to be the best version of themselves. And every time we've had a change, every time we've brought someone in, every time we've had rotational changes, they're for each other. They live the we over the me. And when you have that, it just gives you opportunities to do really special things.
Vegas now finds itself rattled and desperate after being outworked at home, with its MVP neutralized and urgency questioned, setting up a Game 2 centered on adjustments, slowing the pace, freeing Wilson, and containing Kelsey Mitchell. But Indiana enters loose and fearless, fueled by belief and momentum, just one more win away from turning the Champs Dynasty talk into an elimination fight.
How you feel about the performance, the urgency, and the response you had when they made a couple runs later?
Yeah, I feel good. I mean, our group has seen it all. We wanted to come in and be the aggressor right away to make sure that we were dictating on the defensive end and we were dictating from a pace standpoint. They're champions for a reason. We knew that they were going to make runs. They made a big one in the third, and we responded with a big one. I'm proud of our team. It's one game. It's a long series, so we got to keep the main thing. But to come in here and to be able to steal this one was big for us.
The Fever didn't just upset Vegas. They rewrote the narrative, walking into the league's toughest arena on MVP night and leaving with their first semifinal win in over a decade. If they can ride this momentum, that victory won't just be an upset, it'll be the moment everything changes.
Watch how the third quarter goes down. At least they called this one. A'ja Wilson creams Lexi Hall like she did 5 times in Game 1. Peggy Hammond could get 15 calls in a row and one goes another way and she starts screaming and crying. A'ja Wilson doesn't like Lexi Hall. She's always pushing her, but that's an illegal screen, and then Lexi Hall gets called for a foul.
The Indiana Fever lost Game 2 after refs gave the Las Vegas Aces an edge with 41 fouls and rough play. A'ja Wilson was praised, while Lexi Hull battled a Game 1 back injury in what felt like chaos, not basketball.
I mean, it feels like a physical game every game. Feels like it's been a physical season. But yes, I think, I feel like I've been on the ground a little bit more this series so far.
we just keep getting back up, so that's all you can really say.
Indiana walked into Las Vegas, faced the two-time champs, overcame biased whistles, and still left with a double-digit win. Game 1 showed the league a young Fever team playing with calm control, led by Kelsey Mitchell's 34 points and steady answers to every Vegas push.
Yeah!
Take that! Hell yeah! Hell yeah! That's one! That's one! That's one! Yeah! Fever, go! They ain't song and dance to me, man. I'm just raving, man. I love basketball. I love playing with my team. So.
Aja Wilson shot just 6 for 22 as Indiana's disciplined defense forced tough looks and left the powerhouse Aces struggling for rhythm on their own court.
Aja Wilson, look at that foul they called for. Yeah, saved her. That's a bull crap. I love Aaliyah Boston. Great job today playing defense. Look at that. Another foul. Bailed out by the refs. I get pissed off. This is the worst one. They call this a jump ball. How is that a jump ball? Nobody even had possession. Aaliyah Boston, that's anything is over the back. Not a jump ball.
Vegas had home court, favorable whistles, and national coverage predicting an easy series. But the Fever still walked out with a 16-point blowout. The foul count raised eyebrows, yet Indiana's dominant win buried complaints while bias lingered in the background.
And Aja Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces lose Game 1 on their home court to the Indiana Fever, 89-73. The Indiana Fever were in control of this game from start to finish.
The Aces, humiliated by a 16-point loss, stormed into Game 2 determined to shift the tone, but their response looked more like a brawl than basketball. From the start, they abandoned clean play, with referees masking chaos as playoff intensity.
In the WNBA, you cannot blindside somebody and set a screen on them without enough time for letting the player being screened react. And then look at this. This one, their arms lock up, but you gotta let go at some point. Like, you can't bring the person closer to you and just stay locked in while the offensive player is trying to get the rebound. But we know Aja Wilson only receives fouls.
The Aces turned Game 2 into non-stop collisions while officials let chaos rule. With 41 fouls, 16 in the third quarter, Indiana's rhythm was shredded by whistles favoring Vegas.
So why don't you think you were able to find any flow? And when that was the case, what are you trying to do to jumpstart things, maybe on the defense?
Well, it's hard for us to find flow when there's a foul call every 10 seconds. I mean, it just really is. And when they're at the free throw line, we can't get up and down the floor. And that's a challenge. They were much more aggressive and physical defensively. We didn't counter that with our off-ball actions or with our back cuts. So they took us out of our comfort zone. I mean, offense is about rhythm. It's about timing. It's about spacing. We allowed them to do that, and they kept us from doing it.
The game's story was nonstop shoving and fouls that killed Indiana's flow. Vegas piled up free throws, while the Fever were dragged into slow half-court sets they hate.
Yeah, Lexi, obviously you were a late add to the injury report today. Just how are you feeling this morning with your back, and what do you have to do to be able to play? I mean, I'm feeling sore still, but I think just a lot of treatment, trying to get, our bodies as ready as we can be. Part of playoffs, I think, for everyone is end of the season. Everyone's a little fatigued, everyone's a little sore. So just trying to go out there and do the best I can. A lot of treatment with our trainers. I'm really thankful for them to spend a lot of time with me today, a lot of time with me yesterday, getting me ready for tonight.
Lexi Hull, hurt in Game 1, suited up anyway, and was thrown into Vegas's rough style. She took hit after hit, crashing to the floor repeatedly. Still, she buried 5 threes to tie a Fever playoff record. It wasn't pretty, but it was defiant.
This is what happened. They cut it to 8, and they get 4 fouls in a row. That was not a foul. That was not a foul. This is crazy. 4 consecutive fouls. So from 8, it goes to 13 really quick, and the rest was history. It looks like Howard got hit in the arm by 2 players. They don't call foul. It was a shot clock. But the rest of the game were just a whole bunch of fouls being called, people flying.
The spotlight went to A'ja Wilson's stat line, not Lexi Hull's grit or Indiana's fight to survive. Her numbers looked dominant, but they came through bullying play and calls the Fever never got, leaving their starters limping.
Yeah, I mean, it's how you look at it. It looks, honestly, by some of the fouls and the way it was going, it looks like we were almost too physical, but yet at the same time, I feel like we have to be able to get that on the other end. I think, sometimes when you just look at the game as a whole, when you look at the way that it works, sometimes you manipulate it to different ways and you have smaller matchups. So, I mean, I just don't think it's really possible all the time for some of those smaller matchups to really do such a clean job of that. But hey, I'm here to hoop, so none of my business.
Aaliyah Boston fought through constant hits to post 10 points and 13 rebounds, with paint touches turning into no calls. In just her 3rd season, she carried herself like a veteran, turning survival into steady numbers.
Hull kept her out of that space as much as she would have wanted to. She did end up with 19 points.
7-0. Aces run has been stopped. Sims.
Odyssey Sims kept Indiana alive with 18 gritty points, slicing through doubles and hacks despite constant whistles. Frustrated but relentless, she answered every Vegas push with a bucket.
Rosell and Young. Sims over. A'ja Wilson, she had to put some extra arc on that.
Game 2 wasn't about Indiana failing, but about being denied their style by constant whistles and shoves. The Aces leaned on chaos, not superior strategy, to win. Their biggest adjustment was smothering Kelsey Mitchell, cutting her from 34 points in Game 1 to just 13. It wasn't a slump. She was squeezed out of space from the opening tip.
Steph, on that note, with Kelsey just having a little bit of a, they were able to contain her a little bit more. How did you feel like they were able to be successful in that regard?
I mean, the physicality won. She's like a little pinball. I know that the museum's right down the street, so sometimes I feel like she's getting pinged around everywhere.
Las Vegas swarmed Kelsey Mitchell with face guards, double teams, and constant contact, forcing the Fever out of rhythm. On film, it looked like discipline, but in real time, it was bruises and late clock desperation.
The physicality is out of control, that's for sure. I mean, you can bump and grab a wide receiver in the NFL for those first 5 yards, but you can do it in the W for the whole half court. You put 2 hands on somebody like that, it should be an automatic foul. They have the freedom of movement. There's no freedom. And I'm not saying that we're not fouling too. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's out of control.
Even Becky Hammon admitted the game was too physical, despite whistles favoring her Aces all night. Vegas pressured Mitchell and stretched the floor to pull Boston out, but chaotic officiating overshadowed how effective those tactics truly were.
Now the starting point guard, and here's Hull, an early test. Great sign because her shooting has been off.
Yes.
Mitchell. Short. Hull with another offensive rebound, turn, shoot, scores. 2 of their last 3. Hull again, yes. Oh,
you found it.
The Aces shut down Mitchell, but they couldn't stop Lexi Hull, who played hurt and still buried 5 threes to tie a Fever playoff record. Her performance was pure toughness, proof that Indiana won't quit even when undermanned.
Fever runs still. Lexi Hull has scored the last 6 points for Indiana with a couple of threes. Mitchell, good look. And she got it. Kelsey Mitchell in that first half had 9 points, but was just 1 of 5 from 3-point range. It was Lexi Hull doing the damage from 3, and now she's doing a Kelsey Mitchell imitation of the night. Sims gets the roll.
Las Vegas leaned on adjustments and whistles to win, but the series now shifts to Indianapolis. The Aces won't just face Mitchell, Boston, and Hull, they'll face 17,000 roaring Fever fans. After 2 bruising games on the road, Indiana finally gets the energy of home behind every bucket.
If I just asked you to look forward to the series going to your home court in Indianapolis, how much is that really going to make a difference in this series, and how much does it need you guys to have that home court advantage?
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. Our fans, they show up and they show out, and so for us just using that, our own energy, but also using the energy in the crowd, I think it's going to be really great for us.
Gainbridge isn't just a court. It's a constant wave of noise that flips momentum and never dies down. Vegas used its crowd in Game 2, but now Indiana has 17,000 fans ready to fuel every run and spotlight every foul. That energy pressures officials too, making it harder to ignore the contact Boston and Hull take inside.
Yeah, we're excited. I know the last time it was the first playoff game in a really long time, so to be able to have 2 more for our fans that have been there with us all season, really excited for that, and we definitely do feed off of their energy, so we're really looking forward to it.
For Indiana, the pain from Vegas becomes fuel. Hull hit 3s through back pain, Boston battled for bruised rebounds, and Mitchell's frustration now simmers into fire. At home, those scars turn into energy, with Gainbridge's crowd ready to flip games the way they have all season. Games 3 and 4 aren't just stops. They're the Fever's chance to turn pain into power and make every Aces mistake feel massive. Home court is now Indiana's weapon, loud and relentless, with players already eager to unleash it.
At no level of basketball could this ever be a technical foul on Kelsey Mitchell. Oh, Asia Wilson's on the court. That changes everything. So if Asia Wilson fouls you on a layup, you're going to get a technical.
The Las Vegas Aces tried to bully Indiana with elbows, flops, and cheap shots, but the Fever answered with grit, speed, and Kelsey Mitchell's silencing daggers. What looked like intimidation turned into exposure as Indiana flipped Vegas's arrogance back on them, and Mitchell had plenty to say afterward.
This was supposed to be a night all about Asia Wilson's legacy. She made history before the ball even tipped, but the game that followed reminded the Aces how tough this playoff run will be.
The Indiana Fever have pulled off the upset, the 6th seed, beating Vegas 89-73 to take Game 1.
What began as Asia Wilson's MVP coronation quickly unraveled into a night where the trophy felt less like a crown and more like the spark of the Aces' downfall.
And Asia Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces lose Game 1 on their home court to the Indiana Fever, 89-73. The Indiana Fever were in control of this game from start to finish. There was a small little patch there in the third quarter. We started saying, are the Aces gonna come back? But Kelsey Mitchell and Odyssey Sims said, no, they're not going to come back. Not at all.
The media framed Indiana as irrelevant, gutted by injuries and overmatched by Vegas's pedigree and swagger. Even Becky Hammond echoed the script, claiming the Fever hadn't seen the real Aces, as if a blowout was inevitable.
You actually just referenced it twice. It is Indiana. Dropped 2 of the 3 games to them this year, but you haven't seen them since late July. What excites you about that matchup?
That they haven't seen the real Aces yet. They caught us when we were a bit in turmoil. Not only that, they whooped us one of those stretches. So, you know what? We'll buckle in, hone in where we can, and take care of business.
Dismissed and disrespected, Indiana turned low expectations into freedom, and from the opening tip, they played like a team unchained.
But on the court, the Fever crashed the party. Kelsey Mitchell dropped a playoff career-high 34 points to spoil the night with an 89-73 win.
In the second half, I just felt like our physicality and our pursuit was not there. Like we died on screens. You have to have second and third efforts. Even if you know you might be beat, you still have to try hard to get back into the play, and I don't think we tried hard in that category.
Indiana played fearless and fast, while Vegas, burdened by its own expectations, looked hesitant and flat. The underdog's refusal to fold turned swagger into panic, flipping the pressure onto the champs. By night's end, Indiana's upset wasn't just a win, but a seismic shift, made even louder in Vegas's own arena.
You better not blank on the mission, bitch. You might get ranking. Shot back. Let it go. Right. Go. With it. Flash for somebody. You don't want to fight no hitter? No. I'm going to shoot you in the face.
The game flipped when Indiana's resilience forced Vegas out of its rhythm, turning their coronation into a desperate scramble of fouls, shortcuts, and frustration.
Lexi Hall was getting pushed all game. Look at that. Like elbowed, pushed, but guess who fell? That's an illegal screen. She leans into Lexi Hall, pushes her. Look at this. Pushes Lexi Hall down. Like, I can't take this crap. I'm sick of watching it over and over. That's a moving screen. And then pushes her again. Look at that. You can't do that. They didn't call any. This is the only one they called a foul. She straight pushed Kelsey Mitchell into Asia Wilson.
Asia Wilson set the tone for Vegas's collapse with elbows, shoves, and over-the-top flops that looked more like theater than basketball. What was supposed to be star power instead came off as desperation from a player losing control.
And then this pathetic foul to start the game off with, but ball never lies. I love when karma happens. Yeah, miss your free throw. And then here we go. Check this out. Foul. Look at this when she swings her elbows on Powers. And Powers just holding her ground, but it's a foul. Let's go through this. This is Asia Wilson. I'm so big and bad. No, you didn't get touched. It wasn't that cool. You made a layup.
Wilson's teammates followed her lead with cheap shots and bruising screens. But the chaos only fueled Indiana instead of breaking them.
But then Aaliyah Boston swings her elbows around and makes a shot, but no, she can't do it. She's a fever. An Indiana fever. She said, that's a flop. That's what Caitlin said. Here we go. Asia Wilson. Look at her trying to flop to get a call. Nobody touch you. And this is the biggest bullcrap of the game. So Kelsey Mitchell goes in for a layup. Asia Wilson shows them their lip, so they review it. You ever see an Indiana Fever player get a review when they're called for a foul and they zoom in with a microscope and call it technical? They called it technical on Kelsey Mitchell.
Indiana turned every cheap shot into fuel, with Mitchell hitting daggers, Sims pressing full court, and the front court holding strong without backing down. Meanwhile, the Aces, stacked with stars and led by an MVP, unraveled into fouls and flops that exposed desperation instead of dominance.
Asia Wilson, look at that foul they called for her. Yeah, saved her. That's a bullcrap. I love Aaliyah Boston. Great job today playing defense. Look at that. Another foul. Bailed out by the refs. I get pissed off. This is the worst one. They call this a jump ball. How is that a jump ball? Nobody even had possession. Aaliyah Boston, that's anything is over the back. Not a jump ball.
Indiana turned Vegas's bullying into fuel, with Mitchell, Hull, and company owning the swagger while the Aces unraveled into shoves, flops, and desperation. What was meant to intimidate only exposed Vegas's weakness, and the short-handed Fever grew stronger with every hit.
Money Mitch, put him in a ditch! Who on the Las Vegas Aces is going to try to stop Kelsey Mitchell? Because from what I just saw, they had no answer for her. Kirsten Bell lined right up, smacked. Jackie Young stepped right up, torched. Chelsea Gray torched. Jewel Lloyd torched. Nobody could hang with Kelsey Mitchell as she goes off.
Kelsey Mitchell's 34-point clinic turned every shove and foul into fuel, carving up Vegas with fearless drives and ice-cold jumpers. While the Aces flaunted MVP trophies, none of their stars matched the composure or brilliance she delivered that night.
That time, keeping the pivot foot alive and going strong side for Wilson.
Mitchell this time finds a lane to the basket. Inside to Turner. Nice look from Mitchell. Which follows 5 Eastern time on ESPN. Mitchell. Lot of arc on that and a couple of bounces.
Odyssey Sims brought fearless play and steady leadership that made Indiana look like the veteran playoff team, while the two-time champion Aces cracked under pressure.
Good anticipation there by Brianna Turner. She's been on a couple WNBA all defensive teams, and she has really been key for them on that end of the floor in these playoffs.
Sims, yet again.
That's a tough matchup.
Which follows 5 Eastern time on ESPN. Mitchell. Lot of arc on that and a couple in the regular season in Asia. And the entire league. And Sims, they gave her just that space and she took it.
Natasha Howard and Brianna Turner turned the paint into quicksand, grinding down Wilson and Vegas's bigs with discipline that erased their usual comfort. Lexi Hull then put the clamps on Jackie Young, delivering relentless defense that left Vegas's star frustrated and finished with a game-best plus 24. Together, their toughness and grit stripped the Aces of their easy options and shifted the balance squarely to Indiana.
Tipped by Sims, so 9 seconds to shoot.
Hull's done a nice job on Jackie Young early in this game. Jackie likes to go north to south. She's made her play east to west, has not given her an angle to the bucket or to the rim.
And that was one of the things that was talked about to make Jackie move laterally. She's so dangerous. You gotta hurry. Chelsea gets it inside to Young. Rebound by Howard.
Indiana didn't just survive Vegas's brawling tactics, they outclassed them, and the sharpest blow came from Aaliyah Boston smothering MVP Wilson into a 6 for 22 night. Hours after lifting the trophy, Wilson looked less like the league's best and more like a star undone by frustration.
They don't want to talk about it. Yeah, her missing layup after layup after layup. They want to talk about Caitlin Clark missing a three-pointer from half court while she got people falling into her legs. But nobody wants to talk about A'ja Wilson looking like Angel Reese, missing point-blank layups all game long in a playoff game.
Boston, Turner, and Howard built a disciplined wall that left Wilson forcing bad shots, flopping, and pleading for calls. The contrast was stark. Boston's calm leadership defined the moment, while Wilson unraveled under the weight of her own hype.
See Hull have that great steal to seal the win against Atlanta. Great start for Aaliyah Boston.
Definitely the best slasher.
Boston and Wilson, 2 former South Carolina players. A'ja can't find the bottom of the net.
5'11". Odyssey Sims and Kelsey Mitchell 5'8".
Boston up under and in.
Really having her battle.
A'ja.
Becky Hammond downplayed the loss as missed chances, but her refusal to admit Boston dominated Wilson only underscored how fully Indiana had exposed the champs. The irony was striking. Wilson accepted the MVP trophy that afternoon, then left her own floor that night to the sound of fever celebrations and a flipped narrative.
Listen, going into this one, the Aces had only lost twice in 50 days, Kelsey. So what did you guys make of all the chatter going into this series that they were the favorites?
You kind of just respect their game. They have the best player in the world on their team. They have unbelievable guards, so you have to respect who they are. Unbelievable PG, and so you know what they bring to the table as far as their resume and everything they've done throughout the course of the season. And you have to respect that. You just hope that 50-50, it follow a certain way, and you like to think that your effort and your ability to show up and just compete can make you have a win.
With 72% of Game 1 winners advancing, Indiana now holds the roadmap, while Vegas's aura of dominance collapsed in a single night.
We've got to keep the main thing, and that is us playing to a standard of basketball that we want to have as an Indiana Fever organization and franchise. We've got to keep our layers. The outside, the people in our building, and the people in our locker room. And the thing I'm just so proud of with this group is it doesn't matter who's on the floor. It doesn't matter who's on our roster. They give each other the freedom to be themselves. They empower one another to be themselves and to be the best version of themselves. And every time we've had a change, every time we've brought someone in, every time we've had rotational changes, they're for each other. They live the we over the me. And when you have that, it just gives you opportunities to do really special things.
Vegas enters Game 2 with all the pressure, scrambling for adjustments to contain Mitchell and free up Wilson, while Indiana plays loose and fearless. The Fever look less like underdogs clinging to survival, and more like a team convinced they can rewrite the league's script.
How you feel about the performance, the urgency, and the response you had when they made a couple runs later?
Yeah, I feel good. I mean, our group has seen it all. We wanted to come in and be the aggressor right away to make sure that we were dictating on the defensive end, and we were dictating from a pace standpoint. They're champions for a reason. We knew that they were going to make runs. They made a big one in the third, and we responded with a big one. I'm proud of our team. It's one game. It's a long series, so we got to keep the main thing. But to come in here and to be able to steal this one was big for us.
On the very day A'ja Wilson was crowned MVP, Indiana humbled her and stole the Aces' aura of invincibility with their first semifinal win in over a decade. Game 1 wasn't a fluke, but a blueprint. And now the question isn't if the Fever belong, it's whether Vegas can survive. Have you ever watched a star come to life? Not across galaxies, but right here on hardwood floors? A'ja Wilson, power, grace, and unstoppable dominance wrapped into one, has become that brilliant light in women's basketball. Her rise is a story carved out of grit, discipline, and an unwavering love for the game. From modest beginnings, her path radiates inspiration. She has battled hurdles and setbacks, yet every time she soared higher, fueled by resilience and fierce determination. Born August 8, 1996 in Hopkins, South Carolina, A'ja stormed onto the basketball scene. Even in her early years, she pursued greatness with unmatched drive academically and athletically. In high school, she shattered records and left a legacy that still echoes through the gym. Her relentless pursuit of excellence earned her a scholarship to the University of South Carolina, where she elevated her game further. Leading her team to a national championship, she was crowned National Player of the Year. Her college career dazzled with brilliance, marking her as a force destined for the highest stage. Yet beyond the titles, she has emerged as a leader and a beacon for athletes everywhere. This is the story of A'ja Wilson, a dreamer who reshaped the very meaning of a champion. Her impact goes beyond trophies and records. It lives in the barriers she shattered and the lives she uplifted. Her love for basketball was born in the heart of South Carolina. Raised in Hopkins, a small town rich in spirit, A'ja grew up anchored by family. With her parents, Roscoe and Eva Wilson, instilling values of work ethic and humility, she carries those lessons onto every court she steps upon. Growing up with two older siblings, A'ja never backed down from a challenge. Her brother Bryce and sister Alexis were her first teammates, turning their backyard into a makeshift basketball court. The Wilson home echoed with laughter, competition, and the steady rhythm of a bouncing ball. These early battles laid the groundwork for her remarkable journey. From an early age, her extraordinary gift was undeniable. Even as a child, she showed an uncanny grasp of the game, dribbling and shooting with precision that stunned those watching. Standing tall at 6'5", she quickly became a force on the court. But her dominance wasn't just about her height. It was the combination of skill, hunger, and relentless drive. Basketball wasn't just an activity for Asia, it was her calling. At Heathwood Hall Episcopal School, her talent soared under the careful guidance of her coaches. They recognized the spark within her and worked to sharpen it, molding her into something special. She rose to the challenge, pushing herself harder with every season. She became a powerhouse, leading her team to 4 straight state championships. Each title proved her commitment and elevated her legend. Crowds packed the stands, eager to see her perform, and opponents braced for the storm she brought onto the court. With every dazzling play, her reputation grew. What made her different was not just dominance, but the artistry of her game. She read defenses with ease, made lightning-fast decisions, and played with a poise beyond her years. Her brilliance carried her onto the USA Basketball U17 World Championship team, where she transformed from local hero to global rising star. Wearing her country's colors, Asia delivered a gold medal performance. Her contributions were pivotal, and as she stood on the podium, medal around her neck, it felt less like a finish line and more like the spark of something greater. This was her moment of arrival. The world knew her name. When college came calling, Asia chose to stay home, committing to the University of South Carolina. It was more than basketball. It was a promise to honor her roots and the community that lifted her. The choice would change not only her life, but the future of South Carolina women's basketball. With legendary coach Dawn Staley at the helm, Asia blossomed into one of the most dominant players in college history. Staley's mentorship went beyond skill development. She instilled leadership, resilience, and a champion's mindset. Under this guidance, Asia grew into both a player and a leader. In 2017, she led the Gamecocks to their first NCAA Women's Basketball Championship. It was a landmark achievement born of teamwork, Staley's brilliance, and Asia's unstoppable presence. Her performance earned her the NCAA Tournament Most Outstanding Player Award. Every game was proof of her determination. She scored when it mattered most, inspired her teammates, and elevated everyone around her. Behind the highlights was relentless work, endless hours of practice, film study, and an iron will to improve. Asia's name became inseparable from South Carolina basketball, her legacy etched into the program's history. When the university retired her jersey, it wasn't just a ceremony, it was a powerful tribute to her influence and the standard she set. The 2018 WNBA draft carried a buzz that electrified the basketball world. All eyes locked on Asia Wilson, the undeniable #1 pick. The Las Vegas Aces, a young franchise eager to build an identity, made her the cornerstone of their future. The anticipation surrounding her debut was unlike anything the team had experienced before. Analysts predicted she would become not only the face of the franchise, but also a defining force in the league. Fans flooded social media with excitement, eager to witness the beginning of what felt like a new era in women's basketball. Her leap into the professional ranks was nothing short of flawless. From the start, Asia commanded the floor with her versatility, strength, and brilliance. Her energy was contagious, and the Las Vegas crowd embraced her as their star. Teammates marveled at how seamlessly she adapted to the pro game, both on and off the court. Her confidence radiated in every possession, setting a tone that elevated the entire roster. Coaches quickly realized she was not just a player, they had a leader in the making. Her rookie campaign was a masterpiece. Asia had stepped onto the biggest stage, and the league would never look the same again. Her averages placed her among the best players in the league, proving she was far beyond a typical first-year athlete. Opponents struggled to find answers for her skill set, often double-teaming to slow her impact. By season's end, it was clear Asia wasn't just a rookie sensation, She was already one of the league's brightest stars.
There has been rumblings that basically, Kelsey Plum wanted to get the hell away from them. Meaning Becky Hammond and Asia Wilson. And I'm here to tell you guys, it is looking like that way because none other than Kelsey Plum actually fired shots at the Las Vegas Aces.
Kelsey Plum didn't just pack her bags and leave Las Vegas. She torched the entire Aces kingdom on her way out. At her Sparks press conference and in a fresh chat with WNBA legend Sue Bird, she dropped the bombshell line, "I'm finally being treated better than I ever have in the WNBA." Let that marinate. That wasn't some polite tip of the hat to Los Angeles. It was a blade aimed right at the so-called super team she just bolted from. And if that didn't scorch enough earth, Plum doubled down in her sit-down with Sue Bird. She spelled it out crystal clear. She craved more responsibility, more trust, and Vegas wasn't giving it. Translation, Asia Wilson hogged the spotlight. Becky Hammond co-signed it, and Plum was done playing backup vocals.
You really are about it. You really believe that you are as good as you think you are, and you really think you can impact winning at the highest level. There's only one way to find out. And kind of also too, you also have to have a coach that is like, no, that's exactly what I want.
And then came the quote that sent Vegas fans into a tailspin. In her own words, Plum said she needed a coach who would respond, "That's exactly what I want too." That's not just a career aspiration. That's a laser-guided jab at Becky Hammond's failure to unleash her. Think about it. One of the league's most lethal guards openly admitted she felt shackled under Hammond. And it's not just Plum. With multiple departures piling up, whispers are swirling that the shiny Aces dynasty is rotting from within. So, what's the real culprit? Becky's ego, Asia's envy, or a front office convinced that slick branding can mask a slow-motion implosion?
Now we know throughout the offseason there has been a lot of chatter behind the scenes in regards to the Las Vegas Aces. The Las Vegas Aces team was completely derailed at the conclusion of the season, which leaving a lot of people to speculate what the hell is going on in Vegas.
Here's where it gets juicy. Plum's exit isn't just personal. It's the first real fracture in the Aces' shiny armor. And make no mistake, she knew exactly what she was doing. That perfectly delivered press conference line wasn't some offhand remark. It was months of pent-up frustration sharpened into one surgical strike. She's broadcasting loud and clear. The Aces were never what they pretended to be.
First and foremost, I 100% had concerns when I first talked to Coach and Reagan, if we're going to be completely honest. And I will say every step of the way, they have not just met but exceeded my expectations. And I've been treated better than I've ever been as a WNBA player.
That's not casual praise, that's a ruling. Standing there draped in Sparks yellow, she painted her move as liberation while every Vegas fan heard it as proof that Hammond's so-called family culture was nothing but a facade.
I just feel like an overwhelming sense of love, I feel like open arms. I was actually in the airport this morning and I was just getting some water and the guy was like, "Go Sparks!" It's just, I feel that. So I'm excited about that because I really do feel like people have kind of already wrapped their arms around me. I haven't even played a game yet. Just the welcoming of my teammates and coach and Reagan and ownership, I feel very loved already.
Plum didn't stop there. She confessed she'd been itching for a shot at leadership, something the Aces never handed her. When asked point blank if she wanted to be the head of the snake, she didn't blink. She spelled it out. Los Angeles was giving her the keys Vegas never trusted her to hold.
What is it to be the leader? What is it to be the head of the snake? That kind of vibe. So it's you just wanted to know. You needed to know. Yeah, I would hate to have grandkids sitting on the couch and just being like,
wonder if I would have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That sounded creepy, but
No, I totally get it. Yeah, you don't want to regret. That's basically what you're saying.
See, in Vegas, Plum was treated like an accessory, a scoring option when it suited them, a puzzle piece but never the picture. In LA, she's the engine. And that contrast wasn't accidental. She was sketching the bold line between Aja Wilson's team and her new team.
And I'm so grateful to be reunited with Dee, to play with people like Cam and Rakia, and I can continue to go on the list.
And don't forget, the whole trade saga dragged on for months. This wasn't some heat-of-the-moment rant. This was a player biting her tongue, waiting for the perfect moment to drop her truth. And when the mic was finally hers, she didn't just take a shot, she emptied the clip. Even in her sit-down with Sue Bird, Plum spelled it out. She needed a coach who believed in her, pushed her, and handed her the green light. She found that in the Sparks. She never felt it with Becky Hammon. That's not rumor mill chatter. That's straight from Plum herself.
There's only one way to find out. And kind of also too, like, you also have to have a coach that is like, no, that's exactly what I want. And I give Lynn a ton of credit. Like, she's like, you're my person. Let's do this. And I was like, wow, okay. So I'm not crazy. At least maybe we're both crazy.
And let's be real, this isn't some bench warmer begging for playing time. Last season with the Aces, Plum dropped 17.8 points, 4.2 assists, and 2.6 boards a night. She delivered, game in and game out. But Hammond's system, it wasn't built for her. It revolved around keeping Aja Wilson center stage, with everyone else stuck in orbit. LA flipped that script on day one. Now, Plum isn't just another piece behind Aja or Chelsea Gray. She's the face of the franchise. And that's more than validation, it's liberation.
I've been treated better than I ever have been as a WNBA player. Now, that is the comment there that is raising eyebrows amongst fans in regards to Kelsey Plum, stating that she's been treated better so far than she has ever been as a WNBA player.
Fans clocked the subtext instantly. Social media exploded with takes, reading her words as a thinly veiled shot at the Aces. And let's be honest, it was. To many, it confirmed what had been whispered for months. Vegas's locker room wasn't nearly as golden as their trophies suggested. Behind the champagne showers and confetti, individuality was smothered and voices were muted. Plum's comments tore that mask clean off.
So, for all Aces fans, it's over. It's over. It's over. The reign of the Aces is over. I understand the shortest dynasty in the history of the sport of basketball. You know, I've never heard of a dynasty that won 2 championships and then was done. Because you're seeing all the ring-chasing free agents getting out of Vegas.
And here's the thing. When one of your stars confesses she felt muzzled, you know she wasn't the lone voice. Because right after Plum bolted, the Aces weren't just dropping games, they were shedding players. Departures came in flurries, and in no time, the league's untouchable powerhouse looked less like a dynasty and more like an empire mid-collapse.